It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new show this week. All kind of great stuff going on. Some interesting things happening right now in the marketplace overall. And so we're doing the same thing we've been doing every week for the past 14 plus years. And that's just to give you some update information for real estate, help you kind of keep up to date what's going on here locally in the Myrtle Beach and the Grand Strand area, and also nationally in terms of real estate, and help you make better decisions. For most people, one of their largest assets, which is real estate, either their home they live in, investment properties, commercial, all that stuff. And so we have one main goal. Obviously, we do stream this. Want to come back and watch it later on, you can always go to YouTube, search Blake Sloan Radio Show. YouTube, it's on our Facebook, on our Sloan Realty group, it's under my personal. But we have one goal: help give you value and hopefully give you some information, keep you up to date, kind of keep you in the know, and help you make better decisions long term, and really kind of make it a little bit entertaining in the meantime with that. But overall, today's show, we'll go ahead and talk about the overall market numbers from this past month. They're very, very interesting to say the least. Some areas flattening out, some actually the exact 0.0 change, some up just a little bit. We'll talk about what's happening. We also have some big news nationally. Some major news is out this week where it says home prices fell for the first time in 11 years. And we'll talk about that, what that has to do with some national numbers from the Wall Street Journal. We'll kind of look into those overall. Also, some big news this week from Airbnbs. Just a lot of things, just talking about some struggling numbers with Airbnbs nationally in terms of rents being down and potential sellers selling. We'll talk about that. We'll stack it up. Look, see how Myrtle Beach is stacking up with that. We're still seeing a lot of buyers buying short-term rentals here because Myrtle Beach is still fairly affordable, but we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown in terms of rents. We'll talk about that overall in today's show. It's amazing, amazing success stories. Our team's absolutely crushing it still, even in a very difficult market where rates are up. Rates are back over 7% again. We'll talk about what's happening with that. And we'll talk about right now in the current marketplace, a national article that came out, the top 6 reasons to use a real estate agent when you're selling in this market. And I really have to agree with the things they say. And we'll talk about that and what that means. We also have something that was on last week's show. We didn't have time to get to it. We briefly mentioned it, but I just want to kind of get into it and celebrate our team. Some huge news where we were once again ranked one of the top teams in the country. And that's all metropolitan areas. And so we came in number 58 out of the top 1,000 agents, over 1.1 million realtors. We came in at number 58, number 1 in Myrtle Beach by far. And the reality is very, very proud of our team and thankful for our clients and listeners. We'll talk about that and how we stacked up and how we were able to do that in a very, very, very small metropolitan area. We're stacked up against huge markets like Charlotte, North Carolina, Dallas, Texas, Los Angeles, California, New York City. And so all those things combined, we were able to stack up and compete with a lot of those. And we'll talk about that on today's show as well. A lot of great stuff.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you just tuned in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, and other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Friends with Morning Show. You've heard the personal endorsements here backed by Sean Kennedy, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing. But the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and I made a promise a long time ago to myself and even to people that work with me that I'll talk about this every week on the show, at least until I don't see it anymore. And I've been seeing that for 14 plus years, the same mistakes over and over and over. It doesn't matter if the market's up, it doesn't matter if the market's down. I see the same thing over and over. And the mistakes I see is that people make this assumption of thinking that all real estate agents are the same. It could not be any further from the truth. And seeing this right now in the current marketplace, the market slowed down significantly. We're seeing a lot more challenging market. Homes are taking longer to sell. Some homes aren't selling. And the reality is the problem, the mistake everyone makes is thinking that all real estate agents are the same. And like I mentioned, it couldn't be any further from the truth. Just like any doctor, any lawyer, if you're charged with a crime you didn't commit, the last thing you want is some part-time attorney who just got their law license that your friend recommended. But for some reason, people do that every day with real estate agents, right? They want the cheapest one. They want the one that just, that gets referred to them, and they'll spend 20, 30 years building their hard-earned equity, but 5-10 minutes picking an agent. And so the reality is the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller Comes down to one thing only, and that thing is the agent that you choose, period. It comes down to how does the agent you choose actually execute when it comes to A to Z. And because in real estate, it's a very, very long sales cycle, right? It's not just a one-time event. It's a process that takes really weeks and months in many cases. And so when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, right, puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point, that costs you hard-earned equity, or the property doesn't sell. And we see this happen over and over and over again. The major problem in the industry is that it's such a long sales cycle with so many things that need to be done. It's virtually impossible for one single person to do them all. But the problem is 90% of agents operate like a single agent, like they did back in the 80s. And you could get away with that back then. But in today's marketplace, there's so many things that need to be done and be executed on. And it really leaves the ball of service left out for clients. And so the reality is when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, puts money in your pocket, property gets sold, like I mentioned. And so what happens, just like think about if you're out at a restaurant and you get service, a lot of times the service doesn't great, right? They forget your drink, they forget your refill, if something's wrong with your food. And think about that's just in a 30, 40-minute period of someone doing that, because it's a service-based business that deals with humans. It's the same thing when you're dealing with your largest assets in real estate. It's service-based, human-based. And so there's so many opportunities for that ball to get dropped. But here, if the ball gets dropped, it's not just your drink not get refilled. It's your hard-earned equity that took 20, 30 years to build that gets left on the table. And those mistakes cost $30, $40, $50,000. And I see them happen every single week. And so with this system, the reason we talk about this, I grew up in the business. My whole family sold real estate, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma. And so I've been out putting real estate signs since I was 2 years old and knew it was something I wanted to do. But I saw a major problem in the industry, both when I was growing up in the office every day after school, and also saw it when I got into real estate in 2005, that there had to be a better way. I studied business in school at Coastal Carolina, played football there. And then what happened was once I got into business, it's like, man, there's got to be a better way, because everyone operated the same way. It was one agent competing against everyone else in the office. No one cared about them. They didn't care about us. And what was happening is all agents really did was the 3 Ps. They promised the world to get the listing. They'd say anything, everything to the listing because that's what they needed to survive. Then the second thing to do is they put it into MLS and hope that someone else brought a buyer. And then 3, they basically just sat back and waited for someone else to bring that offer. And then they went down the street to the next listing to try to get that overall in that scenario. And that's what happened over and over and over again. If you break down the actual data, the average agent in our marketplace sells 4 homes a year, which is once per quarter. And so it's not a whole lot of expertise to guide your clients, or not very much marketing dollars to be able to invest on your client's behalf to get them the leverage they need to get the most amount of money. And so I sought out and said, there's got to be a better way. And I sought out other coaches and mentors and all kind of people outside of real estate and said, how do we have a business that operates like a real business outside of real estate and bring that into this industry and operate that same way? And that's where this thing I designed called the Guaranteed Sold System. It's the only proven system to sell them twice as fast and for 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. It's proven, repeatable. Like I mentioned, it's fairly trademarked. And it's something that we use to give our client one main thing. And that thing is a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And so we take those 118 different variables, we wrote them out, create a system with technology that maps it out every single time. So the same thing happens the same way. And it's managed by a large team of people so that we can execute each person on the team as a specialist. So back when I was an agent by myself, or an agent that was in a big box store, is me and 200 agents. I didn't care about them. They didn't care about me, but we were all trying to do everything on our own. And we were all just a generalist, meaning that we did everything. And so what happens when you're a generalist, you're not really good at anything because you're so busy trying to knock the next mole, right? We try to get the next, you ever play that game in the arcade where you had to knock the mole, the alligator that came out? That's what it was like. You just get the squeaky wheel and you hit the next thing and not actually execute at the high level for what needs to be done. And so we sought out and said, how do we create this system that's proven repeatable, that's backed up by technology and a team, and each person's a specialist? And it's exactly what we did, and allowed us to use that system to sell homes faster and for more money than traditional methods. We prove it and back it up. And we've been doing that for over a decade now, just with that system. And so we license it out to other agents in other parts of the country. It's exclusive to us here because I designed it, but it revolutionized the way things are done. And that's what got us in Forbes and Wall Street Journal, Fox News, all these things is how we designed that system. And the team of specialists now allows me to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. And that gives our clients more leverage and more exposure. It's the same thing on the buyer side. It's very difficult right now for buyers because there's very low inventory. It's a lot of things and speed bumps to navigate. And so you want to make sure you have a system that's proven repeatable to help you navigate that system. We have this thing called Unfair Advantage Home Buying System for buyers out there. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress deals, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the best negotiation home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully. And so, like I mentioned, both those do one single thing. It's proven and repeatable to give our client a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And all we do is we line the dominoes up. We line the right dominoes, the right things in the right order, and we knock them over in the right order. And you add up that over time. And what it does is it creates gaps between us and everyone else. And it gets you, the home seller, more money in your pocket, and it sells the property faster. And so if you listen to the show, you ever think about selling, have a friend or relative thinking about selling, you owe it to yourself to at least protect your equity and reach out and say, look, how does this thing work? And how does it compare to anybody else? Anyone we've ever sat down with and shown it to, it absolutely blows their mind, even real estate agents from other areas. And it's one of those things that really, really is important. The only reason why we do the show is to help get that word out there, to help keep people from making massive mistakes. Every single week I see horror stories that cost sellers $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 just by them making mistakes. And we'll talk about that on today's show a little bit.
If you're in the market to buy or sell a home right now, every detail means dollars, and who you hire to negotiate your home, that really matters. Hey, Sean Hannity here, and as an active investor who invests in real estate all across the great country of ours, I want the best negotiator representing my interests. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. He can help you navigate through multiple cash offers, and more importantly, he has turned complicated situations into 5-star reviews. Now check out his rave reviews on Google. Talk to him yourself. If you were on trial with big money at stake, you would want a seasoned negotiator with thousands of victories. If they will take you on and you can afford them, right? Well, your home deserves the best representation. Know your options. See how much demand your home can command in this market right now and get the best representation that you deserve. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, pay cash for help, or even rent.
That's great. And if the seller has a big more time?
We use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Market update, all kind of stuff going on, and some good things, some challenging things. We'll talk about what's going on, really just overall the grand strain, and that's where the main thing we do is help keep you up to date on what's going on. So number one, you can just keep a pulse of what's happening for your investment properties, your primary residence, your commercial real estate, and also just really talk about things that anybody come across that just keep you in the know. That's the one goal. If you look at what we talk about in this show, we talk about two main numbers. We talk about the rear view mirror numbers. Those are the ones that closed last month. Those are the ones that everyone talks about on the news and just really everybody's been using for decades. And so those are great numbers. That's kind of the standard. But what happens is if you look at the details, the ones that closed last month actually went under contract 30 to 60 days prior to that. And so you want to use both types of data because you want to make good real-time decisions, not decisions on data that's 60 days old. So we'll look at the rear view mirrors in a second. I like the front windshield, which is how do I keep a pulse in real time what's going on? That's something we've been sharing every week since we really started doing that in COVID. And it's a way for me to watch the market every single day and have a pulse of what's going on, because back then it was chaos, right? You couldn't get people into hotels and the market dropped like crazy. We're just trying to keep a feel of what's happening. And we're seeing that same type ups and downs lately, just with the chaos of interest rates and what's going on. And so last week's show, and I do it really two main ways. Look at what happened in the marketplace the last 7 days, every single day, in terms of what's going on with properties that went under contract. That means buyer and seller agreed on price, terms, all that stuff. Now you're just waiting for it to close. And so it helps us keep a pulse on what's happening real time. So last week's show, there's 553 properties went under contract for $195 million. This week, 560 properties for $203 million. So we're seeing it trend up, which is good. I think we'll probably see that maybe back down just a little bit, as we did see rates jump up significantly towards the end of last week. The good news, a lot of high-end properties. 9 properties are $1 million under contract the last 7 days. 76 properties over $500,000. If you go to last week's show, there's only 5 properties over $1 million, in only 84, and actually 84 over 500,000. This week we have 9 over 1 million. Really cool. Some big time. We saw one Endeavor do 6.25 million under contract, which is amazing. Another one in the Dunes Club here, 4.75 million under contract. Not even oceanfront, which is just awesome news. Another 1.7 in Briarcliff. All kinds of stuff you're seeing all over. A lot of high-end buyers still moving in. Those top 2 sales, cash terms coming in, and people from up north are moving in, relocating here, buying second homes here. And we're still seeing that happen, which is great news overall. Inventory is still doing very well. Right now, inventory 839 active homes for sale in Horry County, which is great news. If you look kind of the past few weeks, it's really been the mid to low 800s. We hit 867 about 3 weeks ago. And so just great news overall. It is down just a little bit. If you go back about 4 weeks ago, there's 613 properties for 214 million. But right now we're still holding strong with 560 for 203 million. So that means anytime we're at 200 million or more, the market's still rocking and rolling. Still great opportunity out there. It's still a massive opportunity for sellers to make sure you're taking advantage of what's happening. If I was a home seller, just kind of keep my finger on the pulse and I was thinking about selling, I would definitely want to take advantage of the seasonality. We're just seeing a lot of pent-up demand where buyers have been sitting back, stalking properties, looking for months and months and months, and now they're combining their vacation with their home search, and they're coming down, staying for a few days, and they're buying when they're coming down. So that's just something that's great news overall. Quick recap for anybody that missed last week's show. That just talks about the closed sales. Those are those rear view mirror numbers we talked about. Year over year sales down 19.6%. With 492 properties, single family homes closed last month here on the Grand Strand. If you look at month versus month, though, it's up about 13%. In April, 427 properties closed. May, 492 properties closed. Prices, though, doing pretty decent compared to a lot of areas across the country. Median price was exactly flat, so 0.0 change. So right now, $379,900, the same one it was in May of last year. It did jump up month versus month, which is good. So in April, it's 345, but it jumped up and made it 379.9. Now, the great news for average sale price, it's up 1.7% year over year at $482,678, which is awesome news there. We're still holding strong in a place where we're seeing some significant declines in the market across the country. Myrtle Beach is still seeing a lot of people move in just because of affordability, people moving and relocating down here. A lot more people we're seeing that are working remotely. We're seeing a lot of investors still come down, a lot of short-term rental purchasers come down. So that's great news overall. In terms of that, one thing that's really been driving and helping protect price has been inventory. Inventory is still very low. It's stayed very low for the past few months. Right now, 2.7 months inventory. That's very low. Anything like I mentioned in the past, 6 months or less is a seller's market, meaning that the seller has the advantage in the marketplace. Okay. And the last time, we were at 2.7 months, it's really kind of sat there since March 2.7, April 2.7, May 2.7. And it's just a what they call a super seller's market. If you go back to just April 2020, there's 4.7 months of inventory. And so a lot more of that. And so this low inventory environment is what's helping protect price. Even though you see a 20% decline in sales, prices are still holding strong because there's just less availability out there. It does mean as a home seller, you do have a little bit of advantage. And that's great news overall. Something I want to talk about real quick is some national news. And like I said, Myrtle Beach has been fairly resilient in terms of that. I got this article from my stepfather, who's a commercial real estate agent here for many years. But Wall Street Journal just talks about U.S. home prices fall annually for the first time in 11 years. And it just talks about home prices posted their first year-over-year price decline in 11 years in April as higher mortgage rates made home purchases more expensive for buyers. It just talks about this overall breakdown. Now, the decline wasn't significant. It fell 0.2% in April compared with 0.7% annual growth rate the prior month. And so the first time that we have seen that in 11 years, and it's based on the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index. And so that's something to keep watching for. Just talks about the average rate for 30-year fixed mortgage of 6.67 in the week of June 22nd, up from 5.81% a year earlier that same time based on Freddie Mac. And so it's something we'll keep watching. It does show a little bit of softening. We have seen some ups and downs in terms of interest rate. It's something you want to make sure keep an eye on. That's why I mentioned before, if I'm a home seller and I'm thinking about selling this year, if I have investment properties that I'm just tired of dealing with, estate sale properties, anything like that, I want to make sure I'm taking action right now earlier rather than later. We just had another jump in interest rates. And so you want to hit this seasonality of the market in Myrtle Beach where, everyone's in town, people are buying. It has that buzz where people are taking action and doing things. Don't wait till end of fall right, to take action. Don't wait till winter time to take action. There's a lot more uncertainty coming, a lot more uncertainty with interest rates. I do know that in this marketplace, it's taken a lot more to get property. So a lot more exposure, a lot more work on it. And that's something that I, as a real estate agent, am very thankful for because, 16 months ago, 12 months ago, any agent could come in, take some photos on their cell phone, get the property sold. And in a way, it's devaluing what we do as a business. But here, now as a home seller, you need somebody that's good. You need somebody who's on top of things. You need somebody who understands marketing and sales and how to write copy. And so these are things that we're using to our clients' advantage to help differentiate their property and get more eyeballs on it because there's 20% less buyers right now. And that's something you want to think about when you're making a decision about who you're going to use, and your friends out there that you're talking to about real estate say, look, here's the deal. The last thing you want to do right now is go with some agent who's going to sell 4 homes a year, 1 per quarter. They have no money to invest on your behalf. They can't spend money on marketing. So they're still trying to pay their rent next month. You want somebody who's an expert who can guide you through that process and get you the results you want, even in a marketplace with a headwind. Because like right now, one thing that we'll talk about that's going to be some big news is interest rates. They jumped back up significantly. Last week's show was 6.95%. Interest rates, week before that 6.94, week before that 6.90. Right now, though, 30-year fixed 7.04%, back above 7, which is when we do see a lot of buyers pump brakes. And we'll see that kind of hopefully bounce around and come back down a little bit. A 15-year fixed rate right now, 6.45%. A 30-year jumbo loan, 6.9%. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage right now, 6.95%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.9%. And a 30-year VA, 6.97. So a lot of those are hovering right around that 7%. It does price out some buyers. We've seen some buyers who've been kind of waiting on the sidelines that did get priced out in that scenario. And so even as a home seller, think about as rates go up, it does eliminate some buyers from being able to buy your property. And so if you're thinking about selling, right, take advantage of what's happening in the summer market. June, July, and August is the hottest times here on the Grand Strand. And so you want to tee that ball up right when people are coming in town so you can knock it out of the park. And that's what we help our clients do. So if you have any questions or anybody you come across thinking about selling, mentions real estate, do me a favor and say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake. His number is 843-808-SOLD. You can also go to blakesloan.com. One of the cool features, we have some amazing new software. We invested thousands and thousands of dollars a month, and you can go right to our site. You get an instant cash offer on your property if you want to, instant home evaluation that's way more detailed than anything you're getting on Zillow and other sites. That's way more accurate. You go on there, it's free, it's no hassle. You just type your information in, and it gives you 3 options. You want a home value for your property, you want a cash offer on your property, or do you just want basically to sell your property traditional, if that's an option. And so we're doing that as a free service out there. You can go to blakesloan.com for that, and it's a great tool for everyone out there. Take a quick break, and right back here in a second with a hot buyers alert.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other
About 5
agent in
minutes
the
left.
market
Okay, cool,
with a
thank you.
guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Hot buyer alert. My team and I are working ridiculous amount of home buyers who are looking for homes here in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area from $250,000 to $4.3 million. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. It's 843-808. So one thing we've been doing every week for years and years and years now is putting my money where my mouth is. Everyone asks, hey, well, what makes you different than anybody else? And the difference is I'm spending tens and tens of thousands of dollars every month advertising, creating buyers demand from all across the globe before you ever call me, versus the average agent. Once you call them, they put a sign in the yard, then they start doing a little bit of marketing like an open house or something. And so what we do is we cast a much bigger net. We drive in way more buyers. And so right now we have this amazing team model that allows me to spend a tremendous amount of money bringing buyers in from across the country. And then worst case scenario, we sell them something MLS. Best case scenario, one of our buyers agents on our team brings that buyer to your house. We sell it instantly using our software that we have and match up buyer and seller, which allows us to sell it faster and for more money because we're creating more demand for that property. And so right now, active home buyers that we have on our website with a username, password account, 72,738 active home buyers get 72,738 active home buyers with a username, password account. Like right now, I got Gerald McKinney from Reedsville, North Carolina. I got Renee from Myrtle Beach. I got Mike from Longs, South Carolina. I got Tracy from Sanford, North Carolina. I got Shane from Fountain Inn, South Carolina. I got Kevin from Brockton, Massachusetts. I got Shippensburg, PA, Beckley, West Virginia, Indian Trail, North Carolina. I got Wyandotte, Michigan. Just all over. Here you go. Sandy from San Francisco, California. And so we have a reach that's global that allows you to get more exposure to property. And here's the deal. I'm basically a marketer in the real estate business. Obviously, we have 20 plus years experience, but we have marketing exposure that gets your property exposure it needs versus 99% of agents going to put it in MLS and just hope that someone else brings a buyer. So if you're thinking about selling, anybody you know, friend, relative, aunt, uncle, if you like them, if you don't like them, whatever it is, if they mention real estate, say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake. That's the whole reason I do this show. And it means the world to us for you to refer your friends and relatives and for us to make sure we can take the absolute best care of them to help get them the guidance. Because this is our largest asset. They don't want to have a terrible experience or have someone who can't sell it for them. And so speaking of that, I want to talk about some amazing success stories. Don and Nancy owned a condo in Barefoot Landing. They've been trying to sell it for a few months with zero success with their current agent. Thankfully, after they were frustrated, they decided to look for other options. Don and Nancy wanted to get back to California, be close to their family. They didn't want to wait too much longer to make the move. And when they did change agents, they wanted to make the right decision. So thankfully, Don heard about Sloan Group's guaranteed sold system, decided to give us a call. We met with Don and Nancy, shared with them our guaranteed sold system. We showed them the problem with their previous agent and how it wasn't getting marketed. We showed them the previous listing wasn't getting marketed correctly. Designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough. We drove massive traffic with just a couple of weeks. Don and Nancy received a fantastic cash offer with a quick closing date. Now they're able to move to California, be closer to family, put maximum money in their pocket, which is awesome. One more I'll talk about. I don't really want to share their name necessarily, but they reached out to us. They had a rental property. They were an older couple. The renters were not paying rent for really significant amount of months. They went into foreclosure, and they're concerned about that. It even had a foreclosure schedule. Reach out to us, wanted a very fair price. We came in and we allowed them to basically come in and made a fair offer. Cash can close in basically 14 days as soon as they wanted to close. We can close in 7 days, whatever they want to do. But I run an investment fund, and this investment fund has millions and millions of dollars. It allows us to come in and buy properties at a fair price from us as a real estate agent who's licensed. We can protect you, where we're seeing so many of these pop up so-called investors out there right now who are cold calling people, and you hear the radio ads on the radio. And those are people that we call wholesalers. And what they're doing, they're actually buying your property in many cases. They just tie you up in a contract at a low amount, and they're trying to flip that contract to someone else without actually closing on the property. And so if they can't find another end buyer by that 30 days they have in their contract, they just leave you hanging at the very end. And so for us, we've closed 100% of the properties we put under contract from our investment fund because we do our due diligence. We go through that part of it, and obviously have a reputation we want to uphold, but we're a real investment company versus some of these people out there. You just want to be super careful right now. But the great thing we're proud of in this different market is we have so many options right now. If you want a traditional method, we are masters of that. Like I mentioned, I'm a marketer in the real estate business. That's my forte. And we're best at getting you exposure for your house so you can get the most eyeballs on it, which brings more demand. And we have a team that's backed up. We made 16,000 phone calls last week to match up buyers and sellers. You compare that against a single agent who probably makes 100. And so if you want to know when that works, reach out, call us, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. We see you back here next week at the same time.